I just don't think they were in their prime when I was growing up. None of my friends really had them. The only thing I do remember is renting the movie from the DVD store. We were more so playing with like plain old Barbies or Build-A-Bears, Webkins, Littlest Pet Shop. Loved those. But regardless, I do think Care Bears are adorable, and I had so much fun making this cake and crafting the bear out of fondant. I originally made it more of a pale pink, but I left it on the table to dry and it faded in the sun, apparently. Didn't know that was a thing. So I had to paint over it, but I really do love a super girly cake like this. I think it's adorable, but let me know what you think. Okay, you probably can't tell at first glance, but this is a wedding cake, and it's probably the most unique one I've ever made. So basically, the bride came to me and she said she wanted to do something different, but also something to capture her and the groom's personalities. She's very bright and bubbly, and the groom is a little more serious, still a fun guy, but I guess he wears a lot of black. So we landed on a vintage cake with a black background and colorful piping. I decided that I didn't want these dollopies to be yellow, so I gently took those off and replaced them. And we did try to pick a few colors to kind of correlate with either the florals or other decor. They also decided on a smaller cake because they were a little bit concerned about the black icing staining people's teeth, which is not ideal for wedding photos. But I tried to get most of the black color from black cocoa powder to help minimize that problem. And then they were also going to display the cake on the dessert table, surrounded by lots of other dessert options. The finishing touch on this bad boy was to write "Till Death" on the top, which kind of looked like a neon sign to me, and I was loving it. I was just so happy with this cake. I feel like the bright colors against the black look so cool, and I just want to make so many more of these, but let me know what you think. I feel like kids these days are fancy. They have refined tastes, and I love it because I get to make them cool cakes. So this is going to be for a young girl's birthday, and it's going to be one of those boba matcha drinks. So it's white towards the top of the cake because you know how the drinks have like the milk towards the top before you stir it? And then I went in with this blackish color and I did the boba balls, and I did lots and lots of them all around the bottom. And I will say, I do love a boba drink. I don't have them very often, but I think they're very fun and delicious. I'm not sure if I like matcha. I've tried it a couple times, but I feel like it has to be the right matcha. So the jury's still out on that one for me. But anywho, I needed to give this cake a cute little face with some heart cheeks and some boba eyeballs. I love that this cake was relatively simple. A lot of my other cakes can take hours to decorate, and this one was pretty quick, so that was a very fun little treat. But on the top of the cake, I just dusted on some matcha powder. I'm not sure if that's gonna taste super strong, but I guess you could just blow it off if you don't want it. And that was it. Let me know what you think. Ever since I made the miniature cakes out of Oreos, so many of you said that I needed to try it with Oreo cakesters, and I give in to peer pressure. So I did them the same way I made the other cakes. I stuck one cakester to the cake board, did a layer of icing, and then stuck a second cakester on top. And I made two different designs. This first one I did yellow because I love yellow. I gave it a Winnie the Pooh looking honey drip, and then I stuck some... Honestly, these are oregano leaves. They were just the right size that I was looking for. Plus, these are just for me anyway, so whatever. For the second design, I needed to round off the top edge because I'm going to make a cute little monster guy. I decided that he should have 3 eyeballs and blue fur. So I went round and around and around with my grass tip, and then there was a couple holes that I couldn't get to, so I went in with just a regular round tip and filled those in. And then it just needed some orange horns and some pupils. I did cut one in half to show you the inside, and I will say the cakesters kind of did need this extra icing because they were a little dry on their own. But definitely a better texture than the regular Oreo mini cakes I made. And of course, let me know what you think. I love making cupcake cakes, and I rarely get to make them anymore since I no longer work at the grocery store, so whenever I get an order for one, it makes me very happy. So first, I had to base ice all the cupcakes together, and then I got started on turning it into an ice cream cone. It's for a little girl's birthday. She's going to be taking this to school with her, and her birthday just so happens to coincide with the day that they're going to be doing an ice cream social, so that's super fun. I remember having a couple of those when I was in school, and they were always the best days. I feel like you usually have to do something to earn the ice cream social. Like, you don't just get one, you had to have done something. Anyway, since there's obviously going to be other sweets there, the customer decided to go with the mini cupcake, so it's just like a little extra birthday treat. And the design itself was pretty simple. I topped it off with some sprinkles, and then I picked up the Rogue One with my sprinkle hat. I left some room on the cake board to write the happy birthday message to me, and I just did it in that same pink to match the ice cream. And yeah, I really enjoyed myself making this, so I hope I get more orders for cupcake cakes, especially the shaped ones. They're so fun. But of course, let me know what you think. This has got to be one of the most iconic cakes in cinema, and today I'm recreating it, but miniature. Ever since I started my mini
Yo
cake
te voy a
series, the
revisar,
cake from Sleeping Beauty has
Nicole.
been
Pero tú no eres
most requested
ginecólogo,
ones,
Daniel.
and then I
Yo soy
started
un
making
ginecólogo,
mini cakes out of
mujer.
Oreos, and
Y un
somebody
buen
had a genius
hombre.
idea to
Tú lo
use
que
those
pareces
for
un
the
difunto.
Sleeping Beauty cake.
Yo
And
te
it's
voy a
brilliant
revisar a
because the
ti,
cookies
ya
are
te lo dije,
so much more stable
tiriguillo.
than if I
Pero
were
te
to
estoy
use
diciendo a ti
cakes
que
of
tú
the
lo que
same
pareces un
size, and
difunto
they
con
would be
esa vaina
so
de
much harder to ice.
Soy
and
un
they would
ginecólogo
have
y te
no
lo voy a
weight. So
revisar,
I iced
mujer.
six
Así
que
que
tú
cookies
no
and then
eres
I put them in the
ningún
freezer
ginecólogo
so that
para
they would get
revisarme
nice
a
and
mí.
hard and I could just
¿Cómo
pick
que
them up and place them
no?
with my
No, tú
hands.
no eres
I added some
ginecólogo.
extra blue
Yo
drip to
soy
the top
Nicole.
cookie and then I added some
cuándo
extra
tú eres
drops onto
ginecólogo?
the cake board
Desde
for that
hoy.
messy
No,
look and then took certain of it along the
Prepárate que
way.
te voy a
The top
revisar
layer
en la
also
cama
gets
de
some
aire.
simple yellow
Pero que tú
piping
no
and then
tienes
I
que
also
revisarme
made
en
some
ninguna cama de
tiny
aire porque tú
pink
no eres
fondant
ginecólogo,
candles. My
Daniel.
parents came by
Ya,
afterwards
yo te
and
voy a
saw the cake
revisar
and I
aquí,
tried to get them to
Nicole.
guess what
Yo soy
movie
un
it was
ginecólogo
from, and they just
profesional.
couldn't get it. My mom guessed Cinderella, which I guess is close enough.
Ahí en la
But the
cama de
finishing
aire
touch
para
was a
revisarte,
simple cartoony
tiriguillo.
looking broom and that was it. I had so much fun making this. Let me know what you think.
No voy a poner
I gotta say,
ginecólogo,
this
¿no?
is probably one of the more
Por eso
magical
mismo,
cakes
yo
I've
te voy a
done, and I
revisar.
had so
No,
much
ya,
fun
ni me
with it.
revisas tú,
So
ni me
this one
revisas
was to be
ginecólogo,
donated
yo.
to social
Ven,
services.
Nicole.
The
Yo,
victim
yo.
was a 12-year-old named Chantel,
¿Y
and
pa'
she
dónde tú vas?
requested a
Me voy
vanilla
a
cake with
consultar.
strawberry jam
¿A
and for it to
consultar
be
qué?
Harry
Tengo
Potter.
4
I
consultas,
started drawing up what I
mujer.
wanted to
¿Cuántas
do, and I
consultas de qué,
almost
Daniel?
iced the
Explícame
cake in a
Es que yo soy
maroon color, like
ginecólogo,
classic
tú lo sabes
Harry
muy
Potter
bien,
Gryffindor.
Nicole.
But my
Tú
husband
no eres
said that
ningún
we don't know what
ginecólogo,
house
Daniel, por
Chantel is
favor,
in, and
por
we
favor, deja
can't
tu
just
relajo,
assume.
deja tu
Apparently, he
vaina.
took it
Tú
very
sabes que yo
seriously.
soy
So I
ginecólogo y
decided
tengo
to
que
go with a
consultar,
neutral
así que
base.
por favor,
But I made these books out
Nicole,
of
estate
fondant and then
tranquila,
all the other toppers I
mujer.
made out of modeling
Daniel,
chocolate, and I was
tú no
pretty
vas
darn
para
happy
ninguna
with how the
parte.
Tú
sorting
no
out
querías
turned
que yo
out.
te
I didn't
revisara,
want the
entonces
HP
déjame
logo in
revisar
white,
y
so
alguna
I
mujer
painted it
allí.
Tú no
black
me vas a
and
revisar a mí ni
very
vas a
carefully got
revisar a
all the
nadie más porque
edges.
usted no
But
es
I
ningún
mostly
ginecólogo.
loved the
¿Cuál es tu
candles
vaina?
because
Yo
they
soy
were great for
ginecólogo
baking
y
and
un
I
buen
wanted them to be
hombre.
edible, but I
¿Qué
thought it
buen
would be
hombre ni
so
qué
fun
buen
if you
hombre,
could actually light
Dice
them
que
and
yo no
use
soy
them as for birthday
ginecólogo
candles.
ahora,
I lit
señores.
them
Yo
to
sé por
test
qué tú
it
quieres
out,
ser
partially because I
ginecólogo.
needed to make sure it worked, but also because I wanted to show
A ver.
it. It did burn the
No,
chocolate
no,
a little bit, but it
No,
totally
para
worked,
revisar, tú no
and
tienes que
replacing
revisar
them with
nadie.
new
Venga para
candles
su
was
casa,
a
que tú
breeze.
no vas para
Let me
ninguna
know what you
parte.
think.
Mira, mujer, va a
I'm a sucker for a
llover.
good
Hueca
fun,
llueva,
and
que
I'm
tú
also
ni
a sucker
venté.
for a fun party
Pues
theme,
déjame
so let's make
revisarte
a
para
very
cancelar esas
special
4
birthday cake
consultas
for
que
a
tengo
very special
encima.
baby. I actually
Cuatro
don't personally
consultas.
know this
Sí,
baby,
déjame
but I'm
revisarte,
sure she is
Nicole.
very special. Anyway, I had some ribbon that I thought would be
Ven
so
acá,
cute with this
Daniel.
cake, so I
Dime,
put
a
two
ver.
cake
Ya yo
together
sé tu
and then
tigueraje,
lighted
¿oíste?
it
¿Cuál
up.
tigueraje?
Pero espérate,
Don't worry, 'cause I
Daniel.
straightened it all out.
Dime.
And this is
Tú
my
no
match
sabes que
cake,
a mí me
so it's
dijeron
just a
que
little
Miguelina había
4-inch
cogido una
one, which I
consulta
think
con
is a good
ginecólogo.
Yo no
size
tengo
for
esa
me
información.
because
Tú
it's
no tienes
big enough
información.
to give you some
Yo no
space to
tengo
decorate, but it's
información,
not too big for
Nicole.
baby. Well, I'm sure
Qué
it won't be
bendito
good.
sueño,
But the cake was still relatively simple in its design. I just divided it up into 4 sections and then put a strawberry in each one with some yellow seeds and the green top and all the strawberry stuff. And obviously I had to write Berry First Birthday on the top, and I've been having so much fun trying out new fonts to write in, and I like this one. I did do the writing before I put the top borders on just because it was such a small space and I didn't want them to get in the way. And at first I stopped there, but I felt like it was a little plain, so I added these dots. Let me know if you think that was a good call or not. I love doing themed cakes for adults, and I also love having full control over what that theme is because this is my mom's birthday cake. And the whole thing is going to be a surprise. I did a chocolate cake because I know that's her favorite, and I also know she's a fillings gal, so I did chocolate buttercream filling with a layer of caramel. And I also got to pick the decoration, and my mom is so easygoing, I know she would have been happy with absolutely anything. And I debated doing just like a pretty design, but we were going to see The Sound of Music in the movie theaters because I guess it was its 60th anniversary. And I figured a themed Sound of Music cake just would have been more fun for her. So I went online and I found a very simple movie poster and I decided to try to recreate that. I kind of sketched out where everything was supposed to go and then kind of just filled it in. The hills and the mountains on the right side of the cake were supposed to be shadowed, and I feel like it turned out a little funny on my cake version, but oh well, what can you do? And fun fact, when I was a kid, I was actually in the Sound of Music play, and I think I was one of the nuns that sings How to Solve a Problem Like Maria, and I was also a goat herd and I had to yodel.
¿Cuál
Apparently,
tren,
today is officially
Nicole?
the first day of fall, and even
¿Y
though
cuál
it's
es que
still
anda,
really, really hot where I
mujer?
live, I'm getting in the fall mood
Ajá, me
anyway.
pongo
A
ahí.
while back, I made one of those cakes that kind of looked like a pie. I did a cherry version, and I thought it would be so fun to do a pumpkin pie
¿Cómo
cake
así,
for
Nicole?
fall. So I kept the color palette pretty simple. I just based
Pero
my
no sería así,
thing
Nicole,
in
mira,
kind of
ven.
like a crusty
No sería así,
pie
mira, ven.
crust color.
no
This
responde,
is
pero
totally
siempre deja un
unrelated, but that
like
just
y eso
reminded
me
me
tiene
of the
pensando bien
baked in a buttery
tranquilo,
flaky
que
crust
vamos a
commercial
hacer
bloopers
esto y-
video.
Ay,
If you haven't seen
Nicole,
that
¿para qué tú lo
Please go look it
dices?
up if you want to have a
Ay,
giggle.
hombre,
Anyway,
vamos a hacerlo,
then we have
mujer.
the pumpkin
Tú te lo sabes más
spicy
que yo.
orangey color and some white to lighten it up and to
Ven,
look
ven,
like
tú
the
la
whip
vas a
that you'd
cantar,
have
tú
on
ven.
top of a
¿Eh?
nice
Ven, tú
slice
la
of pumpkin
cantas, ponte
pie.
aquí.
Though I will
Pero lo que
admit,
tienes que
I'm not
ponerte de
much
lado,
of a pumpkin
Nicole.
pie fan.
De
It's just,
lado.
it's not doing much
Ok,
for me, but I
ok,
respect
mirando
it.
para
But for the
atrás.
top of the cake,
Ajá.
you know how people
No responde,
sometimes
pero
cut
siempre
out
deja un
pieces of
like
pie
y eso
crust
me
and
tiene
arrange it
pensando
in
bien
like a decorative
tranquilo.
design? I
Si no
had a
quedamos
vision
solo
to do
vamos a
that
hacer
with candy
tweet.
melts,
Si no
and
quedamos
honestly, not sure how I feel
algo
about it.
así
Maybe
es,
I
si
should
no
have just
quedamos
left
solo
it
vamos
off,
a
but
hacer
let me know what you
tweet.
Yo
think.
no soy bailarina, yo soy lo intento.
Exacto.
A mí nadie debe evitar comenzar mi dieta hoy.
Traje empanada, Nicole.
¿Qué?
Traje empanada, mujer.
A mí nadie me va a evitar comenzar mi dieta mañana. Pásale para la vez. Mañana yo voy a comenzar mi dieta.
Literal.
Mañana comienzo yo mi dieta sí o sí.
Ah, bueno, porque tú tienes 3 semanas en eso, que la va a empezar ahí.
Estate quieto, muchacho, que mañana yo la comienzo sí o sí, te estoy diciendo.
Quiera Dios.
Por favor, no me por nada.
Claro, esas empanadas de la esquina son riquísimas, mujer.
Tú me traiste una nada más.
Mira otra, ¿de dónde hay?
Nadie me va a evitar a mí yo comenzar mi dieta mañana. Hoy no.
Exacto.
So I took those
Mañana
all
sí.
out, re-smoothed it, and then
Hoy no.
arranged them so they kind of wrapped
Mañana
around the
sí.
front of the cake more. I placed on my
Ay, hace
fondant
falta un
seashells
refresquito,
and some
Daniel.
edible
Un
pearls,
refresco.
and then at the base of some of the waves, I piped on some
Refresco,
white
madre.
frosting and feathered it out with a brush. And that's cake number 1 done. Let me know what you think. This is the second of 3 cakes I'm making for this party. The first was for the oldest sister and was a mermaid theme, and now I'm moving on to the twin girls' cakes. They're very young, but their mom said they like Elsa,